Katie.
The Marca Katie?
I don't know what that means, Marca Katie.
Most of the buildings date back to the Georgian period. You can notice these Georgian buildings based on the beautiful red brick that they all use. That was the material that best conserved heat in a pre-electric. Windows that are smaller on the left, you will see Finn's Hotel. Finn's Hotel is most famous as the location where James Joyce met his wife, Nora Barnacle, for the first time in 1904. James Joyce is, of course, the author of Ulysses, one of the seminal Irish novels and one of the first to be written in its famously hard-to-understand, incredibly modernist stream of consciousness style. The story of the book concerns so instead of going home, he opts to walk around Dublin all day getting drunk and thinking about the fact that his wife is at home cheating on him with a younger man. The entire action of the book takes place over the course of one day, that day being June 16th. June 16th is celebrated citywide here in Dublin every single year by big nerds who dress up as the characters in Ulysses and walk around the spots mentioned in the book. It's known as Bloomsday after Leopold Bloom, and coincidentally, or not coincidentally at all, is June 16th in wild. He's depicted inside Merrion Square, glazed over a rock, surrounded by a number of his most famous quotes. For example, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. He's inside Merrion Square, which, along with being our stop number 4, is going to be the first example we see on this tour of what were known in the Georgian period as key squares. A key square was a private park that was only accessible to the members of the household surrounding the park. So everyone that lived in these houses would have had a key that gained them access, hence the name Key Square. Today, however, 4 out of the 5 remaining Georgian key squares are now public parks, including Merrion Square here. Naming our political offices in the Irish language was just a small way in which we chose to reclaim some of that lost culture and consolidate our independence from the UK back when we declared a republic. That's the same reason you'll see every single street sign here in Dublin is bilingual. They'll have the Irish language on top and the English language on bottom, where it belongs. country of England than she was over here in Ireland. And so, when she died, there was a royal decree that all members of British colonies and Commonwealth were to paint their doors black in mourning for the late Queen. We here in Ireland thought that was an absolutely absurd idea, and many of us thought it would be very funny if we painted our doors bright pink and yellow and blue and green. Here, stop six, folks. He went around to all of the houses and purchased their keys off them, and then had the park closed and landscaped and renovated it. And then in 1880, he gifted it to the people of Dublin, and it's remained a public park ever since. His real name was Sir Arthur, the park keeper, to enter the park so that he could feed the ducks that lived here. Coming up on our left is going to be a statue of Theobald Wolftoe. We're about to reach stop number 7, which is going to be for Stephen's Green, and it's also a good place to hop out if you'd like to do a little bit of shopping. We're right beside the main shop street here in Dublin, Grafton Street, as well as the Stephen's Green Shopping Centre, which is this big beautiful glass building you can see up ahead of you. And if you are hopping out here at stop number 7, as we do often have a little bit of a mass accident, once per year. Currently held by a man called Ray McAdam. And next up is going to be St. Anne's Church up here. St. Anne's Church was also built by Joshua Dawson, and it was the site of Bram Stoker's wedding. Bram Stoker is the Trinity alumnus who wrote Dracula. He got married here to a woman over whom he and Oscar Wilde had a long-time rivalry. Because of this rivalry, a lot of people theorize that he actually based the character of Dracula on Oscar Wilde and his mannerisms. Can't imagine Oscar Wilde was terribly upset about the wedding in the end, though, because around that time he was over in London, where he spent 2 years in prison for the crime of homosexuality. After which he never saw his wife or children again. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Is this a reasonable volume downstairs? Okay, cool. Mural of our old friend Oscar Wilde. And then, once we round the corner, on the front of Kennedy's, sitting on the bench there, is going to be a statue of Oscar Wilde. Today it serves as the office of a prominent Trinity scholar on Oscar Wilde. There's St. Andrew's Church, very cool statue of St. Andrew up the top. He was one of the apostles, and he was famously crucified on an X-shaped cross. Then there's Pierce Station. There's the Pierce Street Garda station to our right. The Garda are the police force here in Ireland. Their full name is An Garda Síochána, which translates to Guardians of the Peace. Guarding the peace here on the island of Ireland hasn't exactly been the easiest job for a majority of our history, but they've done an alright job of it, especially considering that they're an unarmed police force. So instead of any sort of physical force, if they catch you committing a minor crime or a felony, what they do is just talk the head off you until you're so unbearably bored that you don't want to ever flirt with a life of crime again. This will be the last time we pass by the front facade of Trinity, just in case anyone wants to grab a quick photo. And then we're slowly going to be approaching our stop number 8 for College Green. Stop number 8 is right beside a restaurant by the name of Pacino's. And Pacino's was a place only really developed in the early 90s. Temple Bar is a very good place to go if you'd like to lose all of your money. I'm going to warn you about this now because no one else will warn you about this. A number of the pubs in Temple Bar, in fact most of the pubs, practice something that I think is fairly dishonest, which is that starting at around 6 o'clock, the price of drinks goes up and up and up on the hour every single hour. So, when you walked in, you might have paid €7 for a pint of Guinness. By the time it's past midnight and you're so drunk you can't even read the card machine, you'll be horrified to learn it actually says €10. So just keep that in mind. You might wake up one morning after a night out in Temple Bar and think that you've been robbed. And the truth is you kind of have. For many years before he wrote Dracula. So a lot of people theorize that it was his time spent working here in Dublin Castle that inspired Dracula's castle. Dublin Castle is also one of the few places you can see the River Poddle flowing above ground. In the name that the Vikings adopted for our city when they landed here, they referred to us as Difflin, which eventually descended into Dublin. Time. It's also the resting place of a very famous Norman by the name of Strongbow. The Normans came, of course, from Normandy, but a big group of them settled. The Normans, of course, came from Normandy, but a big group of them settled in England before they finally came over here to Ireland. So, Strongbow was one of the Anglo-Normans, and he came over here and got married to a princess by the name of Aoife MacMurrough. Aoife MacMurrough's father was Dermot MacMurrough. He was one of the High Kings of Ireland, and he thought he might increase his power by marrying off his daughter to a very powerful Norman man. However, his plan sort of backfired and resulted in 800 years of colonialism and oppression. But we all make mistakes. Remembered, however, here in Ireland, as my grandmother refers to him, Dermot Feckin MacMurrough. In a battle, he noticed his son retreating, and in a fit of rage, he cut his own son in two and was buried alongside half of him. Every other part of this tour is 100% factual, however, which is why I say, as the story goes. It's like a little disclaimer for myself so I can give myself permission to lie. We're just about to approach stop number 11. Just across the road from Christchurch Cathedral is, in my opinion, the best fish and chips in Dublin city centre, that being Leo Burdock's Christchurch. Leo Burdock's was made popular, it was founded by the man's mother, but it was made popular by a man called Patrick Leo Burdock, and he was a hardline Irish Republican. There was one incident in the 1920s where one of his Leo Burdock's fish and chip restaurants was raided, and they found over 100 guns and rifles there. So, if you're ever enjoying a fish and chip in Leo Burdock's, you can feel safe. Ireland, and it was completed in 1161. One of the most famous names attached to St. Patrick's was a man by the name of Jonathan Swift. He was an author and satirist here in Ireland, and he served as the Dean of St. Patrick's for 32 years. He's best known as the author of Gulliver's Travels. This is stop number 12, folks. That statue right there is Benjamin Lee Guinness. He was the son of Lord Ardilaun, who renovated the Stephen's Green Park. He's also the great-great-grandson of St. Arthur Guinness, who founded the Guinness Storehouse.